Welcome to the realities of Michigan bass fishing. You know, this isn't your mom and pop tournament trail where you find out 2 weeks prior and you have plenty of time to pre-fish. No, here at Bustin' Sticks, you find out the night before on what lake you're gonna be on. This is Bustin' Sticks. Here we go, last of our 4 qualifying matches, and we're heading to my home body of water, Lake Orion.
Yours? Yep.
Mike, we've got Sean Ford meets Jeff Elliott in the TaylorMade Charters 8 Bells bout, looking to advance to meet the winner of the double out duel.
You know, we don't know a lot about Sean, how he fishes. He comes from us from the Saline, Jackson, I think down over that way. Fishes a lot of series, a lot of trails on that side of the state or that area, if you will. Fishes with Jeff quite a bit. Fishes against Jeff quite a bit. So,
you know, Jeff Elliott is very well respected from the west side of the state all the way to the east side of the state. In fact, he's got his sights set on the pros, but he's taking things slow and working it the right way.
He's doing it right.
The guy, when I say taking things slow, I don't mean he fishes slow, because he is an extremely fast fisherman, loves throwing those frogs and throwing those jigs and fishing them fast.
You know, the lakes, the matches, if you will, haven't produced as I expected they would, or how I guess maybe I thought they should. Been really tough. This lake should be different. It's a big fish lake, we know that. My concern for today, though, is the way these two fish. The weather isn't setting up to give them any help whatsoever today.
Well, so you think, but I tell you, Lake Orion, bar none, has the biggest fish around, and it's going to be up to our anglers to stick those fish. It's tails. Jeff, looks like you're going to be blasting off first. That's going to give you about 30 seconds of extra fishing time.
My plan for today is pretty much to just froth the water with frogs, jigs, and bullet craws for 4 hours. I'm pretty sure I can power fish just some good bites just looking at the water here. I'm probably going to start right over there on that dead tree. Go fish that bridge, you know. I'm sure they have a lot of tournaments here, and I'm sure there are some release fish close by. Hopefully we can pick up a couple good ones right off the bat, and it'll be a little easier after that.
Basically, looked at a map last night and going to a good drop-off area by a little island. I know it's around the lake a little bit, but I don't really know. Just go from there. Sure looks like a lot of docks, though. Probably a ticket for most of the fish. Looks pretty good. Well, saw that back there off that point, there's some good drops over there. And basically, I'm just coming up here because I like bridges. So I figured I'd just fish over to that.
All right. So the main reason we came over here is because of this bridge. It's a good pinch point, a good place for one to hang out early. For some reason, I've always had good luck with the rat under a bridge. Nobody's home today, though. No trolls. Last cast, and we're gonna move on. I'm not really feeling it so much back in here. Got a lot of crap on the bottom, and apparently I keep throwing it into trees. I need to find something a little more swampy and a little more nasty. Fortunately, the bottom is covered with starry stonewort and invasive grass, just like about every lake in southeast Michigan now. Another great thing that's accomplished through spraying weed beds by lake associations. Always wanted to come here. I've heard there's always big bags being brought in, so anytime you got a lake with big fish in it, I'm usually a fan. There's a lot less scum in the water than I expected, so we might have to work a little harder to find some, but should concentrate the fish a little bit too and make it a little easier on me.
A little shallower here than I thought it would be. The hot, I'm assuming the hot will put them a little bit deeper. clear is, I don't know, I do all right in clear. Just means they want some cover. So whether that be weeds or docks or whatever, water temp's not too bad right now. Or too hot, I guess. It's about 79. I think it's gonna be another hot one though. Kind of wish the wind would pick up a little bit. Haven't really seen anything I really like. Just gonna keep moving. Pretty dead morning out here though. I don't even see any fish busting bait or anything. I don't know what the heck's going on. I don't like it.
So there's kind of like a finger back here that looks like it could have some slopping pads in it based on the map. So I'm gonna go check it out, see what it looks like. Hopefully my guess is right. It's got some deep water back in here too, so we'll see what happens. Looks like some pads or something over here too. Just gonna start fishing. As fast as I'm gonna be going on the trolling motor today, it makes more sense to fish rather than idle. This looks like a place I'll get bit on the frog. Nice open pocket. It's good because they won't miss it then, they'll just choke it, as long as you got the right color. And I always like to throw the frog as close as I can to the bank, because I think a lot of times these fish that are up in these grass mats and lily pad fields, they're always facing towards the bank, looking for something to come off the bank into the water and eat it. Yeah, I don't really like what I see. I think we're gonna start heading back out towards the main lake. It sucks back here. There's like no water.
Looks like we're off to the same start as some of our other matches, Mike. Dead calm, bluebird skies, no fish. Both guys out there on the water kind of feeling their way around. I think they're trying to see what the fish might do.
You know, Sean doesn't seem to have a plan. I guess he doesn't have a real plan, if you will. He looked at the map the night before, found a couple of key areas he'd like to fish. I think what he's doing is fishing these areas, hoping the fish will tell him what he needs to be doing.
Right.
The only thing with that is you have to catch fish for the fish to tell you what you're doing. So I don't know.
Jeff, Minn Kota 101, 3 freshly charged batteries and 3 baits, and this dude's going to be on the move. In fact, Sean Ford tells me Jeff Elliott's one of the fastest anglers he's ever seen.
You know, Jeff is huge fast on the water.
He is.
He sounds a lot more confident than Sean does today about the water and his approach. However, I think Jeff has the wrong game plan. Jeff's got a lot of strengths. I wish he would be fishing his other strength. I don't think what he's doing now is going to work today on Lake Orion. Just my opinion.
I absolutely would argue that with you.
I know you will.
You know, Lake Orion, with the big fish that are in there, on a day like this, when things are calm, it's pretty quiet, the fish aren't super aggressive, you have to get out there. You got to move. You got to find those aggressive fish. And there's some big girls in there, Mike.
I know.
And I think he's on the right track, spending the time on his trolling motor when you only have 4 hours. Get out there, burn up that water, find those aggressive fish, and get those bites.
Oh, another bridge. Hopefully it's dredged out underneath there. I think I'll fish it. There should be a little current pushing through it from the main lake and the wind out there, so it's always a good place for fish to set up on. It's another thing you can look for on some of these lakes that have a lot of people and boat traffic on them, is all the weeds that they chop up will get forced into a little pocket like that, and it's a great spot to catch good fish. Where's Portage Princess at? You know he's out here somewhere.
Finally. Be one of those days, I guess. Break out the drop shot. Unfortunately. Oh, and she'll probably keep. I went by, I saw 2 of them about this size that were just hanging out over there. Little 15-incher. After being out here for over an hour and not even getting a short, I'll take it.
It'd feel good to just catch one right now. Doesn't even need to be a big one. Just anything. It truly troubles me that there's not a fish under those floating weeds right there. And there should be one there. Got the gills after it. right. You guys can have it. He's a little too small for me. Something I like doing is throwing this frog under docks in some of these soft bottom areas. So you don't have to deal with your bait sinking into the mud and out of the strike zone. And also it's something they just don't really see much. I'm starting to wonder if the Portage Princess caught all the bass in this lake, because I can't find them.
When I've been going, I've seen some bass out here in the scattered weeds, about 8-10 foot. They're just sitting there though. They're not look like they're doing anything. Can't even notice the bait really. Not sure what they're doing. No, I think we're gonna go somewhere where there's a little bit of a breeze.
I thought they were just coming in here. I didn't know they were towing a boat. It's good. Starting to see a little more activity now. Up shallow. Right now I'm pitching a Texas rig sprayed grass bullet craw to some docks. Usually works pretty well. Lots of bluegills still spawning in this lake, so there definitely should be fish shallow. I'm surprised I don't see any cruisers around there. A lot of times you see a lot of bluegills, you can sight fish some of the cruisers, or you can rest them for a while and come back and get them after they settle down. These docks here are a little deeper, which I don't really like because it takes too long for my bait to hit the bottom then. But maybe it'll be a nice little change up because I can't catch anything on the shallow ones.
I don't think that one's gonna do it. Oh, 13. Little school of bluegill right there. I was just seeing if there's anything underneath them. A lot of times this time of year, the bass will just sit underneath them. Oh, that might do it. That's about 1/8 inch too short.
This is similar to what those two fish were just sitting on. A little bit of gravel down there, a little bit of a point. Make a cast or two and see if I can catch one out, hanging out on it. There it is. I don't think he's big enough though. Nope. It's interesting though. He was supposed to be bigger than that. I don't know if there's bluegill beds here too, but that might be something they're keying in on. This little sand and gravel near bluegill beds. Little inside weed line. Oh, he came off.
Another rough hour. You know, maybe Sean's trolling motor spooking the fish a little bit.
That thing is huge loud.
You know, he's caught a few shorts. One fish about 15 inches. He's throwing a jig and a drop shot, and he's moving back and forth between docks, flats, and even the adjacent drop-offs coming up to those docks. He's not talking a whole lot, Mike.
You know, Jeff, on the other hand, he's having a very slow go of it. He has 2 shorts, lost one, doesn't have any in the well. He's moving really fast, bouncing between his frog and the bullet craw, or the jig, if you will. One thing that surprises me, but not being on the water, I guess they haven't had time to learn this. Slop, mats, floating, Orient frogs, doesn't work.
No, I don't understand why he's spending so much time there on that slop and whatnot. We both fished Lake Orion quite a bit. You know my opinion on fishing that slop. I stay away from it. Yep. These fish on Lake Orion like to get out and they like to roam out a little bit away from that stuff. They're not always buried up under the cover. Lake Orion is famous for sight fishing, and that's why I like that body of water so much. Jeff's got the right idea. I still stick to my guns on that. He's just in the wrong place.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Lake Orion, the weather, I think the weather's playing a big part of today. What should the guys be doing? I mean, you just told us what Jeff should be doing. So you know what Sean's been doing. What do you think? Who's going to put the fish in the well? How are they going to put fish in their well?
Well, you know what, Sean, like I said, he's jumping back and forth between the docks, the flats, the breaks adjacent to those flats and docks. I think he needs to hone in on an area and concentrate on what he feels is best suited for his strength. Right now, when you start jumping back and forth like that in a 4-hour tournament, you can really set a confusion in your mind state. So he needs to stick to his guns. However, Jeff is sticking to his guns. He's fishing fast. He's fishing the right areas, but it's areas within those areas that he needs to concentrate on. And he could also downsize a little bit. I like to throw a sticko bait quite a bit on Lake Orion.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And when he's throwing these docks and these pontoons, if he downsizes to something a little bit smaller, a lot of times that works, especially when it's as calm as it is out today.
Well, you know what? Let's get to Pete, have Pete break the lake down for us, and we'll get back out to the guys on the water.
All right, Pete, here we are on my home body of water, and I'm super excited about this match coming up. We're heading out to Lake Orion. What can you tell us about Lake Orion, and what can we maybe expect for our anglers, or what should we expect for our anglers to find on Lake Orion?
You know, again, this is a tough call for me because of our history on this lake. So I brought a cheater along. I brought my
little map action.
Absolutely. So I had to do a little studying on this to actually get my facts straight. Again, because you and I have such a history on it, it's hard for me to say. You know, this is a really difficult. The last couple, 3 years on this lake have really changed tremendously. And I think it's because of the sheer number of tournaments that are on this lake. I mean, I've seen in a week where there's been 7 tournaments on this lake in 1 week. So I think that changes the whole nature of this beast. If I were going to go out there, I've got my regular program that I go through. You know, I do the weed edges. But me being a finesse fisherman, this is kind of tough for me. This is kind of tough. You know, if I don't get anything finessing, and you know, in finessing means you're in a spot 15, 20 minutes before you can decide.
That's something I don't do a whole lot of.
Right. And these guys are going to go out and probably run and gun. I think that's going to be the key on this lake. You know, there's so much structure, so many points. You've got to run and gun to be successful on this lake. That's going to be the big thing.
You know what? Lake Orion, it's got everything. In fact, a little fun facts on the lake. You know, they've stocked it with walleyes over the years.
Right.
There's a natural alewife population in Lake Orion, and I think, true indeed, that's what makes these largemouth in Lake Orion so enormous.
Absolutely.
So there's so many different things that you can do and so many different ways of fishing on Lake Orion. I hope these guys can put some kind of program together on the lake. But realistically, you summed it up all together. It's got everything on it.
Right.
It's difficult because everybody fishes different. And in true, you can fish any way you want. So
right.
I'm pretty anxious to see what happens.
Yeah, like I said, I think the running and gunning, and like you said, the alewives on there, this is one of the few lakes in Oakland County that I fish white baits because of that reason. I mean, no other lake in Oakland County works that way.
So you think maybe they should key on some white baits possibly?
Maybe I gave it away.
You might have given it away. Well, I appreciate it. Let's see how it works out.
There we go. A little better fish. Ooh. Yeah. Well, that's 2. Bigger than the first one, which was probably 1.5 pounds. It was only 15 inches. Biting it goofy when they bite it, but everything in here looks good. There's bait everywhere, and I don't know, they're just not really feeding, I don't think.
This is by far the best looking mat I've seen. It's even got frogs in it. This is not what I expected from Lake Orion. Oh! Eat it this time. I saw him come out and freaking swirl on it and just didn't eat it. I thought he had it. If I don't catch a fish, I will never hear the end of this. Ever. I especially can't lose like this to the Portage Princess. That's not gonna work. I need them to grow. I need to get bigger. I don't like this. That clock just keeps ticking. Time is running out. We might have to go back to going retread fishing. There's one right there though. I'm going retreading. I think we should have just put the boat on the trailer and went to another lake.
That was extremely quick.
Only 1 fish was caught. Neither angler really talked a lot to us. They did some bouncing and some throwing and a lot of trolling motor noise, so there really wasn't a lot to show.
Well, Jeff is definitely getting frustrated. In fact, I heard Jeff talking about going after retreads on Lake Orion. That's something I would never even think of doing. I've never done that before on Lake Orion, and especially not in a 4-hour tournament. I'm going after fresh fish. I'm going to look for something that's really aggressive out there. He's struggling. It's starting to show, and he really doesn't have a whole lot to share with us right now.
You know, I thought Jeff would struggle today. As soon as I seen he has several strengths, as soon as I seen the strength that he was going with on Orion and the weather, I thought he was really going to struggle, and he is struggling. He doesn't have anything in the boat right now. Sean started venturing out a little bit deeper, which I like, and he put his second fish in the boat.
Well, that's what I was telling you earlier, Mike. I think Sean needed to hone in on what he wants to call home. Instead of going from them flats to that adjacent deep water and back up to the docks and so on and so forth, get honed in on one area and concentrate on that. And I think he's starting to show that that's where his strength is at right now, is in that little bit deeper water, and it's working out for him.
I'm gonna go back to that first bay where we caught the first one, the first keeper, because I saw a couple other bass in there, and I'm not even seeing any fish out there here, so I'm just gonna go over there and tear it apart and see if I can catch some. So, be a final move, I guess. I saw some over here this morning. Nothing wants to bite.
But they're smarter than you, you know?
They are. Believe me, I know. So we'll run some shallow stuff, and that's about all the time we're gonna have.
I don't remember the last time I sucked this bad. Gosh, maybe this is where I should have been all day. There's another one too. Get out of there. I think it might measure. Oh yeah, 14 and a half inches, monster. Yeah, what was I thinking? I should have been back here this morning. Good one, oh no. Gosh. Choked it. I don't know, he might make it. Oh yeah. Keeper number 2. I think this is a better one. Oh. Number 3 anyway. He's crooked. He looks like a retread for sure. That time on the jig. Hoping to get back there with enough time to maybe pick one out of that boat basin. I still think I can get 2 more. Number 4. There he is. Number 5. Finally!
Sean, you have 2 fish, both alive, for 5 pounds even. Good job. Jeff, you have 5 fish, 5 alive, for a total of 10 pounds, 1 ounce. You're moving on to the final round. Congratulations on winning your first round. Right now, it's time for 5. You know, as soon as you left the ramp, you really seemed to have a plan together to get out there, froth up the water, keep that trolling motor on high. What made you approach the lake this way?
It's one of those lakes I've always heard there's big fish in it. I know some high finishes come there on, fishing shallow, fishing fast. So it's one of my favorite things to do when I don't know a body of water. So I figured I'd just get out there. I'd go with it, hit as much stuff as I could, and hopefully put some big bites in the live well.
Tell me about your baits and your areas of choice that you chose to roll with here.
Well, right off the bat, I wanted to go hit some slop, and I wanted to go back into some areas that weren't quite on the main lake. I wanted I want to fish docks, but I want to fish slop, and early in the morning we didn't have any wind. So I find it a lot better to get quality bites out of an area that doesn't seem to be as affected by wind, as far as, making the fish bite. So if I can get into some thick weeds and maybe some backwater areas, I want to throw that frog around in there. And then after that, I wanted to pull out once the wind picked up, which it never did, and fish more main lake stuff.
Okay, you just used the word weeds. You were talking in the match about an aquatic plant that was in the lake, and you went in a little bit about why you were doing what you were doing around that plant. And I understand you're kind of in the marine biology area Tell me a little bit about that, if you could.
Yeah, I do Great Lakes research for a living. I got a fisheries and wildlife degree from Michigan State. The weed I was talking about is called starry stonewort. It's kind of like a carpet that grows on the bottom, and the problem with it is it's so dense that a fish cannot live inside of it. You know, where you have your cabbage or your milfoil or something that grows up, little fish can hide in it, big fish can, you know, ambush in it. This stuff just basically blankets an area, it starts growing up, and it, you know, you can't really kill it. The only way to remove it is to, you know, actually physically remove it. You can knock it down with chemicals, but you can't get rid of it. So what it does is it limits the area that a fish can go in. So if you're fishing an area and it's all starry stonewort all around, but there's, you know, one little spot in there where for some reason it hasn't taken hold and you got some standing vegetation, that's where the fish are gonna be. And another thing it does is, you know, you got a shady area like a dock, it's not gonna grow under there. So you need to target those areas that are not starry stonewort and either hard bottom in between all of that or standing weeds.
Well, I tell you what, that's some good information for everybody that's viewing this right now, and as well for myself, and I look forward to using that information in the future, because I know, I never really knew what the name of that weed was or what that plant was, but it's nice to know those things because it teaches us a lot of things while we're on the water. So it's a good play on your part that you knew that, and did it help you out? I mean, how difficult did you find Lake Orion to be?
I found it really tough. The starry stonewort there was growing up high enough and the water was low enough that a lot of the areas I was targeting really didn't have enough water underneath them for fish to hide in. Now, they were probably another 6 inches, 8 inches, maybe a foot. I'd have been good to go, but that stuff had choked a lot of it out and made it really difficult for me. So I've spent a ton of time just burning through water, you know, looking for something good. And it took me a long time before I finally got something figured out.
Well, now that you've been on Lake Orion, if you were to go back to Lake Orion, is there anything that you would do different?
Without a doubt, I'd have fished deep. You know, I definitely would have ended my match fishing shallow, but I probably would have spent at least the first 2 hours out deep, which is, you know, what I should have done. I really did not have any time to prepare for this match, so it was just, you know, I'm going to stick to it, I'm going to commit to this and go with it. But I think I could have got some fish out deeper maybe, or, you know, roaming flats early in the morning and waited for that wind to pick up, which is really what I was hoping for all day to get on that shallow bite.
Well, you know, you fished Lake Orion with our rules of our game. What did you find to be the hardest aspect going into it using our rules?
You know, once again, you don't know until right off, you know, 12 hours before the match. So you take a look at a lake like Lake Orion, and it's, you know, kind of, it's not that big, but there's a lot of area you can get into. There's fingers, points, like, you know, canals. So like just looking at a map without actually seeing what the water's like, it's really tough to figure out where to go. And then, you know, a place I wanted to get to, I'm like, you know, I don't really know how to get back into here. So you got to try to navigate, you know, without hitting things. And it made Lake Orion a big challenge for me.
Again, congratulations on winning your first round. In our next match, we're going to move to Lake Nipissing. We're going to see Brian McCarter taking on Chris One Fish Williams. And let's hope that Brian doesn't bring this black cloud with him. We're heading out to Lake Nipissing to see who's going to move on in the semifinals to fish in the championship. Who do you pick in this match?
I'm going to have to go with Chris Williams. He's an old school guy, been in the game for a long time, and I think he's got some history there.
Well, good deal. Until next time, remember the name of the game.
Hook up or shut up.
This is a Brandy Rocks production.